I hope so. I mean, there's no better way than what we did this year with what we had. I mean, you cut payroll, and we do what we do. Hopefully we bring back O'Hearn, we bring back all the guys that need to be here. I mean, this team is ready. This team is ready. We fell short this year, but I mean, we're confident in the group that we have that we can go out there and repeat it every single year. So, I hope they continue to do that and listen to us and ultimately listen to the fans that want to bring a championship to the city of San Diego.
I know it just ended, but how do you assess a season like this?
I mean, what type of question is that, dude? My guy. How do I assess the season? We just lost. How do you think I assess the season? How do you think I assess it?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
You tell me. What's a loss? We lost. How do you assess it? It's a loss. You lost. Come on, dude. I mean, you could ask better questions than that. Let's go. Come on.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I'm Marty Cassavell. That is AJ Cassavell donning his San Diego SD Wave hat. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. The season is over. There's so much to go ahead and talk about, but that you heard from Manny Machado, that was after a bitter playoff exit. I will start today's show. I had all these different thoughts. What will I ask AJ Cassavell? I will ask AJ Cassavell the same question that was presented to Manny Machado. How do you assess the Padres 2025 season?
Probably not good enough. Like based on what their roster was, I think, I don't know, maybe the postseason can be fickle and things can happen that, like in a short series that don't go your way. Like you can assess different areas of the Padres power outage, but look at the Brewers who don't hit for much power and they're just kind of dominating things. Like there's a lot of different ways you can go if you're assessing just on what the postseason is, but the Padres were also built to go deeper in the postseason than the wild card series. I think they're probably about a 90-win team based on the talent they had on paper, and they won 90 games. And then they were built pretty well for the postseason with the pieces they had, but they didn't hit enough. They didn't hit for enough power, and they're out early. And so I think you assess it as not good enough. I think there's aspects that were good enough, and you can also understand the nuance of the fact that the baseball playoffs are weird, but this is a team that could have won the division with the pieces they had and the fact that the Dodgers spent much of the summer struggling, and then you get an easier matchup with the Reds and you can potentially go deeper into the playoffs. They could have earned a bye. I don't think the Phillies and Brewers are juggernauts. I think they're both very good teams. They didn't do that, and so now the offseason sets in and now you have a lot of questions. But like my answer to that question is not good enough based on what their goals are and what their goals were.
I would completely agree with you. I know we can look at it now, but even at that time, like when they got swept at home by the Baltimore Orioles, right? When they lost the series to the Minnesota Twins, when we had all these conversations heading into September about how the Padres had the easiest strength of schedule of any possible playoff team. I think their opponents had a winning percentage of like 434, and they did not take advantage. Not winning the division and finding a way, I think that ultimately did this team in, because we saw the issues that you just mentioned, but it's magnified when you are going on the road and you have to go ahead and play 3 straight games on the road to advance.
I know they could have won those games if they had done a few things differently, but the point is they didn't set themselves up to be in the place where they needed to be. I mean, like you could say that about the Dodgers too. Like the Dodgers really struggled after the trade deadline as well, but it was right there for the Padres to take. I think they were 2 or 3 games back at the trade deadline when they made moves that should have made this roster into a legitimate force. And they were essentially more or less performed the same as they had all season before that. If you look at the whole final 2 months. And so I just think it's disappointing. Probably from April to July, some of the stuff that they dealt with and some of the injuries they had and the fact that the lineup was not as deep as it could have been and the fact that there were pieces missing, like I think you can look at that and say adequate, like pretty good. And then you can look at August, September, October and say not good enough.
We can talk. Listen, it's over. I'm not going to second guess, what happened with Xander Bogaerts, and having an out taken away from him. We can talk about Yu Darvish starting that game. I do want to ask you about Yu Darvish. I mean, how much was that the clear? I would love to know, like, how much did the Padres struggle as to whether or not to start Yu Darvish and not Michael King, or not go with a bullpen game or anything else that they did?
Yeah, I have, and I know this is a big talking point because Darvish did start and he didn't perform all that well, but like
Mhm.
he gave up a couple seeing eye hits and some weird stuff happened, and they only ended up giving up 2 runs in the inning, and they lost because they didn't hit. So like I just have such a hard
Right.
time saying it was definitively the wrong decision because I think I had said that I would have started Michael King, and then the argument would have been Darvish versus Cease for Game 3,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I may have gone Darvish. It's close. I guess Cease's numbers against the Cubs and the Cubs' numbers against fastballs like would have all made sense. But
Mhm.
like Darvish gave up some seeing eye hits. Darvish didn't get knocked around aside
Right.
from I think that Suzuki double. Um, and then Estrada got out of the jam with minimal damage. 2 runs should not be an insurmountable deficit. Like the pitching was not the issue here. The pitching
That's
gave
not
up
why they
what
lost.
I think 6 runs in the
Yeah.
3 games.
Yep.
Like that should win you a wild card series,
I
and it
completely
didn't
agree. The
because they didn't
pitching,
hit.
you're exactly right. I mean, 6 runs in 3 games on the road at Wrigley Field. The pitching wasn't the issue. Who they started wasn't the issue. It was the fact they couldn't score runs. And AJ, I know in the Padres post game, part of the theme asking some of these questions like what a difference it was without Ramon Laureano. But is that the reason, or is it more about again the same conversation that we had through a good portion of this season that they needed Manny Machado and Tatis. They needed those players to go ahead and carry this offense, or was not having Ramon Laureano that big a deal for the Padres with all those lefties and the pitching and the moves that the Cubs made?
Yeah, the Cubs didn't have Cade Horton, who's their best pitcher, and like so you can say not having Ramon Laureano was a huge detriment. It absolutely was. It would like this would have been a different lineup. They would have forced the Cubs into different decisions. They wouldn't have had that string of lefties in there.
Mhm.
But if you ask the Cubs, what's the trade-off here? Like the Padres are losing their number 7 hitter, we're losing our number 1 starter. Like we would rather be in the plight the Padres were in. Every team deals with injuries, and the Padres couldn't overcome theirs. I think like they have an offense that should be able to overcome that one. Ramon Laureano is an awesome player. He was exactly what the Padres needed. He was the
Yep.
right-handed bat they needed. He was the right-handed bat that would have been really, really good in this Cubs series. You cannot use that as the excuse for only scoring 6 runs or 5 runs. They should have scored. They frankly didn't get it done on offense, not just because they didn't have Ramon Laureano.
Yep.
They were not facing the Cubs' best starting pitcher in the series, and they didn't get it done.
There was a lot that went through my mind when I watched, different players go ahead in that game, whether it was Michael King, 3 strikeouts, leaving the game after 1 inning, whether it was Robert Suarez coming in, whether it was Luis Ariz, who was very emotional in the post game. And I kept wondering, is this the last time we're going to see that player? With Dylan Cease, I'll say absolutely yes. We know who his agent is. Michael King, that's going to be an interesting conversation. The conversation I would ask you, I think all season, was this it for you, Darvish?
I don't know. I mean, like he certainly left that door open with his comments after the game
Mhm.
in after Game 3 in Chicago, basically
Mhm.
saying like I haven't thought about it yet, and it being like he has 3 more years under contract. So the fact that he hasn't thought about it yet means that he knows it's a decision that he's going to have to think about. So my answer is I don't know if he even knows yet. I think
Yeah.
there's still probably something. There's probably plenty left in the tank. I think he was a better pitcher after those first few starts when he lowered that arm slot. The question is like what's going on with that elbow and what will it take to actually fix that, and what can the Padres expect from Yu Darvish next season? Like they should not. If Yu Darvish returns, they shouldn't go into the season expecting 32 Yu Darvish starts, which I don't
Right.
think they did this year anyway. I don't think they have in the last couple of years. There's probably going to be maintenance and things that need to be done to take care of Yu Darvish's elbow to have him as much as possible. And so, like, is that something that Yu Darvish himself wants to deal with going forward? Is that something that can be addressed? I don't think we know the severity of what he's dealing with in his elbow. Essentially, I mean, he's 39 years old and he's pitched a lot of innings, and
Yeah.
a lot of those pitches he throws puts a lot of torque on his elbow, and as a result, he's dealing with the effects of it. And so I think this season, probably aside from the results, like he managed it pretty well. Like it wasn't ideal that he was hurt for the first 3 months, but he made all of his starts basically down the stretch. If the Padres were to get that next season with maybe a better version of Yu Darvish, which I think is still in there, they would probably be happy with it. But that's Darvish's decision, and I think just the fact that he said that he was going to have to think about it leads me to believe that it is at least in his mind as a decision that he has to make. I don't think even he has an answer yet. It was at least in the aftermath of that loss. The loss itself was too raw for him to go into what came next.
Yeah, I know I tried asking him before, the previous day when he spoke to the media about, how this could be it for a special group of guys, and especially in the pitching staff, and he didn't want to answer it then. And I've spoken to different people who know Darvish, decently in this business, who think that, yeah, he's done, that he's completely done. So I don't, we'll see what happens. Padres have a lot to address. All right. John Seidler released a statement yesterday saying that, that they're disappointed by the disappointing early exit in the wild card, and that there's going to be a full organizational evaluation. Is this something normal that Peter used to do every single year? Is this a standard statement, or do you think we should read more into that?
I think on some level it's absolutely normal. Like it's pretty basic that like the season didn't end the way they wanted it to. He sends out a statement that says we need to evaluate why it didn't go as well as we wanted it to. We saw that pretty much every season, that the Padres didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve under Peter Seidler. The question there is AJ Preller, like what this means exactly for AJ Preller and where it puts him going forward. I don't know if we know the answer to that yet. I think AJ Preller has done some of his best work in these last 2 years, and I think the Padres should probably look at some of these moves and maybe think like what would have happened without AJ Preller's aggressiveness, without AJ Preller going for it the way he did. But I guess it's kind of still TBD. As for the statement, though, I think that was basically standard. Like they didn't live up to the goals that they set for themselves very clearly, very explicitly. They want to win the division. They want to bring the franchise its first World Series. They fell short of both. And so at some point there needs to be an honest evaluation of how you can accomplish, how you can reach those goals.
I'm not sure if you caught what Manny Machado said in the early part of the Open. I know that a lot of us, that after the game, people focused on what Manny Machado said, berating Jake Garriani, who I thought asked a very reasonable question on Manny about how do you assess. I'm sorry, this is asked of every single player in that clubhouse, and why he couldn't answer it when these are coming. But that isn't the point of this conversation. He mentioned,
well, when else is the time to ask that? That's my thing. Manny insinuates that there's another time to ask it. Your season just ended and you didn't reach the goals you reached. Now is the time to ask it. And I mean, the clubhouse is open per the collective bargaining agreement that he has agreed to. Like that's the time to answer that question. But that is besides the point. Go on. Sorry, Marty.
Okay, what was my point? Oh, okay. So I thought Manny made like a really curious, because I asked him like, do you expect like this ownership group to go all in with what you guys have? And he said like, well, we did a really good job. I mean, we cut payroll. He mentioned they cut payroll this offseason, and look at us. We still have the right guys. So I thought Manny was kind of, taking maybe a little bit of a dig. I think he was sending a little message. We cut payroll and look at what we did this year. So what do we expect the payroll to look like for next season? And I know that John Seidler has not spoken on the record to the regular media. I'm not sure when he will address that, but what's your expectation based on what you know about what they're going to look like? Last year, Nick Pivetta was the big signing, right? That was it. I mean, I don't know that AJ Preller had the wherewithal to go ahead and spend, which is why they got Jason Hayward and Yuli Gurriel and Connor Joe. And, those are, guys that were just, I mean, they had no point.
But and Gavin Sheets. And so not to interrupt, but like if you're going to hit on Gavin Sheets, it's worth, I think, the other 4 guys you miss on. But that being beside the point, like the question about payroll going, like what it's going to do, I don't think it's going to skyrocket, but there are payroll obligations, significant ones coming off the books that give the Padres some flexibility, I think. And so like if they were to go out there, they clearly need to find another Nick Pivetta. They clearly need to find another starting pitcher that that is probably not the top of the market starting pitcher, because there are several of those guys available. But like a guy that like Nick Pivetta, who I mean, until I started digging in on Nick Pivetta in the offseason, I don't think if you had asked me this at this time last season in October, I would have been like, they got to sign Nick Pivetta. They can turn that guy into an ace. But when you start digging in, and then when he signs, and then when it kind of becomes clear it's a pretty good fit, and there's some things the Padres can tap into, like then that's what the Padres need to go out and do this offseason. And so I think they'll have the flexibility to do that, but not the flexibility to go like swim in the very deep end of the free agent pool this winter, because like we haven't seen any indication that they would. The question is like, what does this roster need though? The bullpen's already awesome. The lineup needs some slugging, I think, clearly. The rotation needs arms.
Yes.
So if the Padres could replicate their offseason from last season and find the next Nick Pivetta and find the next Gavin Sheets, that would be a pretty good start. if you just have to go and do that, which is so much easier said than done. Like those were two of the best finds in all of baseball last year. And then they probably still need more than that if they want to accomplish their goals, because their offense is good. Their offense is stable. They have basically everyone coming back. They need to slug more, and they need maybe, is it a philosophical change? I don't know. It doesn't need to be, my opinion is, does not need to be a philosophical overhaul, but it does need to be a philosophical change to tap into some of the power that they are leaving on the table, I think, with guys like Tatis, Jackson Merrill. I know Jackson was hurt for a big chunk of the season, but like, I think Jackson Merrill could be a 30 homer guy if he's healthy throughout the season. So, we'll see. We'll see where they allocate those resources. The offense is basically everyone coming back, and I think you could feel pretty good about a lot of those guys that are coming back. The question then is, like, if you have a DH first base opening, like, you need to allocate those funds that you're spending to a bopper, to a guy that can hit home runs. And I don't think those are that expensive. I think you can find guys at that position without a glove, with minimal defensive ability. I don't know who it is at this point. I haven't really dug in on what free agency is going to be. I don't think it's going to be like Pete Alonso, because I think he's going to go somewhere else. But like, you can find a lower caliber of that who can at least slug and slot into the lineup and give the Padres some thump that they clearly need.
Okay, when you said less, maybe a different approach, are we talking less of that power of friendship approach that the Padres took? I mean, you want more slug? And when you say that, I mean, okay, gosh, we could do hours on Tatis. I breaking down his season to me it's something else. And I don't know that I thought I had an interesting conversation with AJ Preller on that too. But when you have him in that leadoff role, what you're telling him, I think, is that you want to just get on base. And I wonder if they're taking away some of his aggressiveness. Is he best suited for that leadoff role? Or would you rather have Tatis in a different situation where you normally have more slug? Which is crazy when you think what Ohtani does for the Dodgers. But anyways.
Well, I think it's 2025. Your leadoff hitter should be able to hit home runs. That's the guy that's going to come up the most times in the game. And so you want a guy that can slug there. And Tatis is absolutely a guy that can slug there. The question is, like, how do you marry the what he did this year in terms of getting on base? Because that was really good. But his whole season, he will look at it as a down season, and obviously the way it ended, like, he was pretty devastated by the way it ended.
Yes.
But it was a pretty good season for anyone else. But he needs to tap into, like, if he taps into more of that power, and the Padres don't have some of those power outage issues, maybe we're having very different conversations. So I don't know the answer to that. Like, if Tatis is not going to be that home run guy, and he still hit 25 bombs, but I guess like from like June onward, it wasn't that many. I just think that if Tatis were to, if this is the version of Tatis you're going to get, like a less of a power threat, more of an on-base threat, who can steal, who can play elite right field, who has an 815 OPS, that's an awesome player. But then you got to go find some power somewhere else, because they need more home runs. And I think you can still tap into more of Tatis's power and go out and find that other power. And you know what? Like, the power of friendship, that's real. Like, that's like building rallies and playing clean baseball and like building one hit after another. Like, that stuff works
in the regular season.
It's just
it did work in the postseason.
What I'll say is that stuff works. Like, I'll come back to the Brewers. It's working for them. They're not a power team. They make it work with rallies, and they hit home runs when they need them. Like, the Padres were 28th in home runs. I think the Brewers were 20th. Can the Padres bridge that gap? Can the Padres don't have to be top 10 in home runs. They play their home games at Petco Park. They have some contact happy guys on offense. Can the Padres be 18th in the league in home runs next season and do everything else that they did this year? If they do that, I think they will be in pretty good shape moving forward. I think that will be the offense will be a very solid offense.
It's going to be an absolutely fascinating offseason. I'm going to go back to something you said a short time ago about how this bullpen is awesome. Now, that's this bullpen. Mason Miller, man, I'm assuming he's your closer of the future. But what does this bullpen look? I'd imagine Robert Suarez is going to opt out, probably get paid, maybe go to the Dodgers and solve their bullpen woes. Oof, what a blow that would be. But I mean, do you think, foregone conclusion, Robert Suarez is gone for next season?
I think so.
Okay.
Just based on, like, he can make significantly more than that contract option, and he is like the Padres, if they're going to pony up in free agency, it is not going to be for Robert Suarez.
Yeah.
Like they don't need a closer.
You got
I think
Mason Miller.
I think yeah, they don't need one. They have Mason Miller, and if for whatever reason they move Miller to the rotation, if that's the decision they make, which I don't think that's a conversation that has been had at all. But
Okay.
until I see Mason Miller pitching in relief next spring training, it'll be a question that I have. Then they have other guys too. They have Morihone, they have Jason Adam, they have Jeremiah Estrada, they have David Morgan and Bradley Rodriguez, who are both, I think, really good in their debuts and give the Padres a lot of reason for optimism. Like this bullpen is very good, very deep. They don't need Robert Suarez, and I think like fans should probably appreciate Robert Suarez because he was a really good closer.
Yes, he was.
I think like he was probably the Padres' third best reliever this year, but he also might have been the third best reliever in the National League. If you look at, I think FWAR has Morihone 1, Mason Miller 2. Then there's like a couple guys that Robert Suarez is tied with. Like the Padres might have had the 3 best relievers in the league. And any other bullpen, Robert Suarez might be the best, is clearly the best arm. And so like it's an embarrassment of riches in this Padres bullpen. So it's easy to kind of write Robert Suarez off because he gave up a couple home runs and some spots, but he was excellent. So that is something you have to make up for. But I guess coming back to my original point is like you can appreciate Robert Suarez and then also say, thank you very much for all you did here.
Yep.
We don't need relief help. We need help elsewhere. We'll see you next year when you come back with whichever team you come back with. I think that's the most likely path that this ends up going down.
Okay, a couple of years ago, when Joe Musgrove was due to become a free agent, the Padres signed him during the season, correct? Because when you have frontline starting pitching, you don't let them become free agents. Any surprise at all? The Padres had zero conversation with Michael King and his reps about, hey, come back. Let's have a conversation. Or is he so far out of their the realm of payroll possibility?
I think it's a surprise that it wasn't a conversation maybe earlier, but I also think that like Michael King and the Padres know that he's probably outside of their range.
Okay.
And I wouldn't expect Michael King back next season unless, and I don't think this would happen, but unless King were to be willing to like do some sort of softer contract to get a bigger contract later because he didn't have the year he wanted this year.
Right.
I still think he has a lot to point to for success as a starting pitcher. And I just think that Cease and King are both most likely gone. I think they're two really good pitchers.
Yep.
Pitchers make so much in free agency. They're so hard to find starting pitching. Worse pitchers than they've made have made a lot more money. So we'll see. I mean, I think you'll agree that was like one of my favorite corners of the clubhouse. Those two guys are really fun to talk to. But like we'll see what happens. I also think the Padres can feel pretty good with Ruben Niebla. They've been able to make it work. Like as much as like losing King and Cease will hurt. Cease gave the Padres 32 starts this year, but he wasn't very good for most of them. King was out for most of the summer. The Padres still won 90 games, got to the playoffs, had one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They can make it work. Having traded Bergert and Kolek, I think hurts just in terms of covering innings. Right, I mean, very good player. He was very good in the postseason. It's not a knock on that trade, but it makes things more difficult because now they have to go out and find those arms, find who they would be. But I think that like there's a culture of run prevention in San Diego that's already like really good. And so whoever it ends up being, if it's Pivetta, Musgrove, Vasquez, I don't know, a few starts from Darvish, Sears, and then like a couple guys you add, like whoever it is, I think like you can at least trust the track record of the Padres organizationally with how they've done, how they've turned their pitching staff. Their pitching staff could be better, but I think they have a pretty good track record of making their pitching staff at least better than what it is on paper. And I would expect that to happen again in 2026.
Okay, you also heard in that open that was Manny Machado pleading the case for Ryan O'Hearn. He hopes that they bring back Ryan O'Hearn of the Padres departing free agents. I know Luis Arias says he loves it in San Diego. He wants to come back too. Who's most likely to return? Does O'Hearn make sense for the Padres? I can't imagine with Luis Arias, but we'll see.
Arias, as we said, like we kind of philosophically, I don't think fit because of like where the Padres need to go. Like they could use a first baseman, but they need someone that with some power. And like if this shift needs to occur, you can't bring back Arise unless it's on some sort of extremely friendly deal. Arise's free agency, I think, is a very interesting one. O'Hearn is like the perfect fit, but maybe out of the Padres price range. Granted, he struggled a little bit in San Diego, but like they need some power. They need some OPS. They need some slug. They need and he delivers all of those things. The left-handed bat, I think when you get Laureano back, it can balance it out. I don't know. Like that kind of guy is who they'd want, because I don't think Suarez is coming back. I don't think King and C's are coming back. I don't think Arise is the right fit. So if you're asking which of the guys makes the most sense, it's probably that guy right there.
Right on Hearn.
I still think he might be out. We'll see. Like if the Padres are going to allocate their resources probably to pitching over like a big slugging threat, like a proven slugging threat, if they can go out and find the next Gavin Sheets for cheap and spend their money where they're going to spend it on pitching, I think that would make sense. But like we said, like the offense needs to get better, so they probably need to invest in the offense too.
Do you anticipate any changes to this coaching staff?
I mean, they all stayed intact last season. I think it's pretty rare that 2 seasons in a row the coaching staff stays completely intact. So I don't know what they are. I don't want to speculate on what they are, but I would expect change just because that's how coaching staffs work. It would surprise me if they're all back next season.
How much do you think the Padres can add to their payroll? And you have guys who are due for some hefty bumps in the starting lineup.
Yeah, they might have to get creative in terms of structure. I don't. I'd have to. The season just ended, and I've kind of spent the weekend having beers.
I know where you spent the
disappointed by college football. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Sorry about that.
But like, I'd have to kind of really dig into the payroll situation, and they're going to be freed up a lot of money. I want to say like something like, what is it, like $32 million on the free agents that are leaving, and then
Hosmer's off the books. Eric Hosmer,
Eric Hosmer's off the books. I don't know if that counts as part of the 32, so it might be 45.
Okay.
I should have come more prepared, but again, I was watching that team this weekend and being disappointed by them.
Okay.
In any case, like they're going to have money to spend. I don't think they're going to have a ton of money to spend. Is kind of what I think it comes down to, because I think they're going to have money coming off the books. They're going to have clear and obvious needs. They're going to have a pretty complete roster. I think the fact that like Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado are going to be making 60 something million combined for the next 7 years. Like maybe you're not going to be able to give the longer term contracts that you otherwise would have, because you know that at some point those contracts are going to be for aging players that aren't very productive. That's just the way the aging curve works. But you can still spend, I think, this winter with all the money that the Padres have coming off the books and be in that top third of the league in payroll and be in a pretty good place for the future.
AJ Cassavell, a couple more questions, and thank you so much for your time. I can't even tell you what a pleasure it was to have you put up with me every single week during this baseball season. And as you mentioned, and you're not alone in your assessment about this has been maybe the best back-to-back years that AJ Preller has had as Padres GM. And I thought he made an interesting comment.
I think it's 100% true.
Easily.
I don't even think you can argue it. Yeah.
No, I would agree with you. And I thought he actually made an interesting comment when I spoke with him, the final homestand, about how getting that clubhouse right. I actually think he also got the whole clubhouse chemistry. That matters too. You need to have guys that fit. And this crew, these guys, it was a close-knit group. These guys fit together well. Yeah. So I think he kind of figured that out. So do you expect him to be back? Do you expect AJ Preller back? Yeah. The other AJ.
If I had to, I hope I'll be back. If I had to guess, yes, I think he's done enough, and I'm curious. Obviously, it would be potentially a lame duck season. So, like, does he get a contract extension? And if the answer is no, then is that a sticking point? I don't know the answer to that yet, but I would expect him to be back just because of what he's done and because of how successful. Like, this is the most successful era of Padres baseball, and obviously a big part of that has been the infusion of spending that the Padres got under Peter Seidler and what they committed long term. But AJ Preller played his role in that, and I think this season AJ Preller did a pretty good job. I know they didn't get a whole lot better in the second half, but the way that lineup was and the way some of the questions that they had, I think it could have careened into missing the postseason had he not gone out and made those deals. And plus those deals, like giving up DeVries is going to hurt. Like he's going to be a really, really good player, but it wasn't going all in to win in 2025. It was pushing a lot of chips in to win in 2025, knowing that you're going to have Mason Miller, Ramon Laureano, Freddie Fermin into the future to help you win in 2026. So long answer to your question. I would expect him back, but until we have a clear answer on that, I'm not locking that in stone at all. And
I think that it's important to remember that a lot of these moves were made to take advantage of Manny Machado's window, which I think is right now. Manny Machado, maybe next year. I mean, I know he's going to be paid for a long time, but I think this is his best window, him and Bogarts, and we'll see what happens. Well, and it's not. And you have Merrill. You have Merrill, who's on a friendly deal. Who like his window should coincide. The fact that I would expect. I'm throwing this out now on October 7th, whatever day it is. I think Jackson Merrill is going to have an awesome year next year. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to have an awesome year next year after being frustrated with the injuries he dealt with this year and having 2 years of experience in the league. And if some of these veterans start to experience their decline, which credit to Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. He was awesome at shortstop this year. And I think he answered their questions like going forward. The fact that he'll be able to man shortstop into the future is a big deal for roster building. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that. I just think Jackson Merrill's going to have an awesome year next year. I'm sorry. If you allow me 2 more questions, and I'm keeping you way over your time limit, and I'm sorry, but there's so many questions, and hopefully we can do this maybe around the GM meetings or whenever they either announce moves with AJ Preller or the coaching staff or anything else. And what was my question? I just forgot my question. Oh, do you think are there any tradable contracts? Could the Padres look to trade any of the guys on their current roster to free up some money to go ahead and address a bunch of the needs they have? I mean, you have
not without getting worse.
Okay, because you have a
not
movable
without getting
contracts.
Significantly worse. They have some movable contracts, but I think they would get worse if they were to move those contracts. Is Jake Cronenworth one of those movable contracts? He would get worse because he is. I think he is a contract. He has a salary that's big, but he's also been worth that significantly. So with his production, with his value, with his defense, with what he brings at the plate, and I think in the clubhouse, you would get worse if you're going to do that. Some people I've seen like Tatis mentioned. I don't think like you're going to get value for Tatis. Like you're not going to get enough value for what he brings you. Like if you give Tatis away, now you've got to make up for that kind of production. And he is he was, I think, 8th on my MVP ballot this year, or he was a good player.
Older, more unathletic team, and you don't have that defense in right field. And I think you take some. Yeah. So
anyway, long story short, not without getting worse. And the fact that they have money coming off the books leads me to believe that they wouldn't be looking to trade more money. They just might be looking to spend smartly instead of like spending a lot this winter while keeping what they have.
Kirsten Wright wants to make Jackson Merrill your leadoff hitter. This is what I want for next season. This is my wish for next season. I want to see, and it doesn't matter where in the lineup, I want to see Tatis and Merrill hitting back to back. I want that energy at that top. I think this team missed a lot of swagger this last season. I hope they get it back. I really have we may never know. Because it's not right for any of us to ask players about personal issues or the stuff they're dealing with off the field. But I do wonder if that played into, Fernando's struggles. It's a season long, just all the off-field stuff we saw, which just was reported about the lawsuit with the advance money. I forgot what the name of that company was, but I just wonder how much of that stuff just played in his mind and maybe affected him at the plate. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. We'll see. But AJ, what is your offseason like?
I'm gonna spend a bunch of time with Carlo.
Good.
I'm currently sitting in his like nursery, which is like half my office right now. So I gotta move my office. Well, it's just this corner of this room. So I gotta move my office to a different spot in the house so that he can actually have his own room. That's been like an off-season task, and plus he's fine. He's one. But
he's a baby.
House stuff around the house. Gonna watch some baseball for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Probably gonna watch Penn State lose 4 games and then get ready for spring training. I think it'll be an interesting offseason, but they all are.
For those of you watching, the Padres' early wild card exit allowed AJ Cassavell to watch Penn State lose to UCLA. So sorry about that. Hopefully you found some very, very good beer. AJ Cassavell, I cannot thank you for how awesome you've been. For me, really, the entire Padres season. I know that how much the Padres fans really enjoyed and appreciated hearing from you and just all the words of wisdom. So we appreciate you. Hopefully we will do it again soon.
That's really kind. Thank you very much. And I've enjoyed this show as kind of like a way for me to like formulate all my thoughts on like once a week, like put everything together. Cause I'm generally very like day-to-day oriented. And then this show allows me to think more big picture, which is always interesting. So
day to day, that's a step up.
Time and yeah,
I'm minute to minute. I'm literally minute to minute scrambling. As one of you guys pointed out on the comments, I am wearing, these are headphones from Target. They belong to my nephew. He's 7 because I cannot find my headphones. Maybe they're in Chicago somewhere. I don't know, or on an American Airlines flight, but and my head hurts. These are tiny. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. That is AJ Cassavell. I am Marty Caswell. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I do have some more shows coming up. I know Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network will be joining me occasionally to talk some NFL. So AJ, if you ever have any football questions about your favorite team, you can pass them my way. I will ask them the DJ.
Yeah, football season might be over already. They got one more loss and then I'm done with it. So anyway, thanks, Marty. I really appreciate all the time. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.
Team's been struggling. Did you find yourself regretting the situation more and more when?
Can you rephrase that question in a better way for me, please?
In a better way?
Yes.
Well, did you?
Are you asking me if I was regretting what happened because my team struggled?
Well, when you're not out there, you can't help.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to be with my team. I couldn't. As a player who plays baseball, I couldn't play baseball. I would have liked to have been out there with my team.
Did you regret it all what you did after getting suspended?
That's the same question there. Again, what happened, happened. I'm ready to move on. I'm just happy to be out there and play baseball.